we were very responsible for making a lot of the preparations. And this is a 1919 book. On page 315 is Cannabis Indica, Indian hemp. We've noticed in some of the other pharmacology books, as we're looking through them, you'll see Cannabis Indica, Cannabis Americana was one of the forms. Obviously here in America we've got our own little type growing. But in this it talks about its use, and it says the action on the brain. Cannabis indica lessens the appreciation of various sensations such as pain, touch, etc. In this way, in bold, it relieves pain and produces sleep. It lessens the higher intellectual functions such as reasoning and judgment, and also the sensory areas of the brain, while increasing the imagination. This accounts for relief from pain and the characteristic vivid dreams. Then they talk about effects of large doses. And even when cannabis is taken in large doses or when it is smoked. So again, back then they were also smoking it. It produces a characteristic state of pleasure and exhilaration which accounts for its frequent use as an intoxicant. Very soon after taking large amount of hashish, the individual passes into a drowsy state, during which he has the most beautiful dreams and forgets everything, cares, worries, troubles, events which occur about him, even the individuals about him. He has visions of the most gorgeously beautiful scenes, amidst which he imagines all sorts of romantic incidents. He is usually joyful and happy and seems to be in a garden of paradise, far more beautiful than every previous conception of it.
Sure that's not acid?
That sounds a little strong.
Is that stronger marijuana than we're talking about?
Well, and of course that's what I was going to get to. The preparations that they're talking about are an extract of cannabis, a fluid extract of cannabis indica, and a tincture of cannabis indica. These preparations were very strong, and very often it was by dropper that you take it. The dose of one of the old bottles I have says, continue taking until its effects are experienced. And so a lot of the arguments people get in as far as medicine, I think we just have to keep reminding people, it doesn't work for everyone, but it is so safe compared to so many medicines people take today. It should be, not the last resort when they've tried everything more toxic, but one of the first. And I think, again, as patients know, it relieves their pain, and it's that feeling, that good feeling they get. They feel better. A lot of them will say for the pain, whether it takes away pain or not, they don't think about the pain as much. They get on with life.
Distracted.
And in Oregon, what they're finding is it's the patients who are teaching the physicians and the care providers. That's how they're learning now. And we have, and I think that is really helpful. Ed Glick, one of the nurses out there, has designed a handbook for patients and the care providers and the caregivers, the people who may grow the marijuana for the patients. But it's a handbook with a little bit of information for anyone to help them understand how. And the part that he plans to expand on down the road are the preparations. Some of the hospice nurses out there have been making suppositories for the patients who just don't want to smoke at this time. And so I don't forget to tell, the one thing I did want to say then though about smoking for patients, the one thing we learned from Tashkin is for those who do smoke, don't hold your breath that long. Obviously, I go along with Dale that the vaporizer is the way to go, but for those who are smoking, it's a matter of if the longer you hold your breath, so many are 10 seconds or more, that's when the damage is more likely to occur. It's just sitting in the lungs. So a few seconds holding the inhalation and let it go will reduce a lot of the harm. Other than that, the teaching for the patients is just making sure they know where they're getting it. If they're not growing it themselves, to know that whoever is growing it is not spraying it with other pesticides or something that could harm what they're going to ingest.
Street drugs.
And of course the biggest problem is the illegality. And I walk a fine line at UVA, I think some of the times because I'm called in to see patients. I work there as the addictions consult nurse, so I'm called in to see patients about substance abuse. And often they're med seeking. And I would say 90% of the time, my assessment is they're pain relief seeking, and we've just not been very good at it. But the fine line is, I'm looking at this patient and I'm wondering, would marijuana be helpful? But to suggest that to the wrong person, and I say wrong person, to someone who has no clue and ends up getting arrested or in some greater danger, it's a real predicament. It's very easy for me when they bring up that they've used it in the past, and then I can just go back to that and we can talk about it and then talk about how to reduce harm. But the idea of introducing it is one that I still have a hard time with, and it's just the knowing I cannot guarantee them a safe supply, I cannot guarantee them a safe source. It makes that part difficult. But speaking of cannabis in terms of education, we did, Patients at a Time, in collaboration with the University of Iowa last April, had the first National Clinical Conference on Cannabis Therapeutics. We're happy to say that, mark your calendars for next year, May 3rd and 4th, 2002, we will be having it out in Portland, Oregon. And we're very pleased because it's a physician and nurse are really the local people who want to take it there, and it's because of they work in a pain clinic off Legacy Healthcare System, and they want to bring the conference to Oregon, and so we're very happy to be coming there. And finally, the last thing, I encourage one of the challenges I do for nurses is trying to basically get them to go back to the ethics of caring. That's what nursing is all about. And our ethics basically says that. But it's been, as John alluded to, a struggle to get something published in the American Journal of Nursing. It's been 4 editors of that journal I've gone through until the current one finally agreed that this topic should be brought up and addressed. So it's in the April issue of HAN, Therapeutic Cannabis, a patient advocacy issue. The point of this is, though, I think it's very good for healthcare professionals, if you know of any nurses, to let them know something about seeing it in print in one of the American journals, whether it be JAMA or for nurses, the HAN, that somehow it must be more real than if they're going to publish it. And they did a real nice job. I had a lot of problems with some of the peer review because I kept saying the author's too biased, it's too positive. But the editor kept, would understand when they would go to look at the government sources of the negatives that I more or less had refuted, they couldn't find anything either. So it was like, no, it's just trying to report the science. So I think I'm just really happy that it got into a mainstream nursing journal. And I think it's going to be very helpful for us. A great deal for the nursing profession to come forward. The other big thing, again, I encourage people to look at our website, medicalcannabis.com, and one of the things we do is put out a list of organizations that support medical marijuana. We do have the Florida Medical Association, California, 10 state nursing associations, as well as American Public Health and that. But the idea is to get this list so great that the government cannot keep saying that healthcare professionals don't. It gives the healthcare professionals a voice. If they're too afraid individually, they can say, my state nursing association does it, the hospice association does it, the oncology association does it. So I think anytime we get in the literature, it helps. And actually having a journal on therapeutic cannabis is something. What I encourage people there is to try to get your university libraries, hospital libraries, to purchase the journal. And again, it's an easy way to get it to the public if you can get it in a library. Thanks.
As I was walking out today, thought I heard sweet baby say, what's coming over you? What you think you're gonna do? Said gorgeous, I don't know. Some have stumbled to the show. Said gorgeous, I don't know. Some have stumbled to the show.